You're so far gone. You're so far.
Oh my.
Right. We have come back into open session now, and we will go ahead and jump in. We have application updates from Dr. Danielle Allen, OCS consultant. We'll hear from her.
To Vice Chair Walker, Committee Co-Chair Kakadelis, and all respective members of the board, good morning. Today I'm going to provide to you your monthly update of the 2018 charter school application cycle. Specifically, I will cover the 2018 application timeline and process. I will outline the applicant groups appearing before you this month for clarification and full interviews. I'll propose a set of applicant groups to appear before you next month for clarification interviews. And finally, I will leave time for any questions or closing remarks. As you know, this board recommended a timeline and process which was approved by the State Board of Education in May of last year. For the sake of time, I won't go into detail on the timeline and process unless there are specific questions. You'll remember that clarification is an opportunity up to 30 minutes in length for applicants to clarify aspects of the application. This review is conducted at the committee level and led by either the committee chair or a CSAB chair. Those assignments are outlined for you on the agenda. I will remind the board of suggested time limits prior to the clarification interviews that will take place this afternoon. On January 18th, the Office of Charter Schools notified 7 groups that they will be appearing before you for clarification this month. On February 4th, we released clarification rubrics to those applicants, and any documentation that was submitted by Friday has been uploaded to eBoard. This month, the Policy Committee will conduct clarification interviews for Carolina Experimental School, Leadership Academy of Wayne, Griffin Leadership Academy, and CE Academy. CE Academy and Carolina Experimental were both repeat applicants from last year. The Performance Committee will conduct clarification interviews for Huntersville Charter High School, Triumph Charter Academy, and Piedmont Career Academy. Piedmont Career Academy is a repeat applicant from last year as well. The Office of Charter Schools is proposing 6 applicant groups to come before you for clarification next month. Achieving Excellence Academy of Charlotte, Alamance Community School, CFA Pender, Jordan Lake Academy, Kingdom Performing Arts Academy, and Wake Preparatory Academy. Jordan Lake is a repeat applicant that previously applied under the name Liberty Leadership Academy. None of the applicant groups proposed to come before you next month has any special requests, such as conversion, replication, etc.
Will that be the last of our clarifications, or do we have more?
Those are the last of the clarifications.
All right, so there is light at the end of the tunnel on this application cycle.
You all done a great job so far.
I think we've only been doing it for about 3 years just on this cycle, it seems like.
We had a big group.
We had what, 30?
35,
35?
and then 2 withdrew, so it ended up being 33. Yeah. So these are the proposed committee assignments. Policy Committee will look at Jordan Lake, Achieving Excellence Academy of Charlotte, and Alamance Community School. And then performance, we'll look at Kingdom Performing Arts Academy, CFA Pender, and Wake Preparatory Academy. Are there any questions about any of those applicants before we notify them? Okay. All right. So this brings us to the full interviews that will take place today. I will present an overview of information of each application to the CSAB. Applicants will provide introductions not to exceed 3 minutes. The interview lead will give this. They have 3 minutes to introduce themselves. All members associated with the proposed school will line up at the podium and introduce themselves. So we'll need the board members, the name, occupation, and role that they will play at the school if approved. If there are any third-party vendors, we ask that they will introduce themselves as well. All parties present should have a seat in the designated area here and remain silent unless addressed. Anyone speaking must speak at the podium into the microphone. And no additional information will be passed out at the interview if it was not provided in the online application system. So the total interview is not to exceed 1 hour in length. After applicant introductions, the CSAB will discuss the application and comments from external reviewers up to 20 minutes. You have up to 20 minutes to ask questions of the parties present. You have up to 10 minutes to deliberate, and then finally 5 minutes to make a recommendation. Are there any questions about that? On January 18th, 5 schools were notified of their full interview opportunity at the February CSAB meeting. Interview rubrics were released to applicants on February 4th. Any letters of absence or additional documentation submitted through the online portal in a single PDF document has been uploaded to eBoard. 2 of the applicant groups appearing before you are requesting replication, and 1 of those groups is requesting approval for 2 different replicated schools. So this month, you will see Power Elite Preparatory Academy, Achievement Charter Academy, Doral Academy of North Carolina, North Raleigh Charter Academy, and Wendell Falls Charter Academy. And your March interviews are pending the decisions that you all make at today's meeting. That meeting will be held March 11th and 12th. Are there any questions before we move on to actual interviews? The applicant appearing before the board today is Power Elite Preparatory Academy. This interview will be led by Committee Co-Chair Linda Lynn Kakadelis. They're proposing to locate in Mecklenburg County. Their proposed grade levels and projected student enrollment are as follows. Year 1, K through 4, 120 students. Year 2, K through 5, 156 students. Year 3, K through 6, 203 students. Year 4, K through 7, 264 students. Year 5, K through 8, 342 students. There was not an LEA impact statement submitted for this application. We do not have a due diligence report. Pass-fail ratings are as follows. Mission, purposes, and goals, 1 pass, 4 fail. Education plan, all fail. Governance and capacity, all fail. Operations, all fail. Finance, all fail. This applicant does not have a special request, and they are not a repeat applicant. They did partner with Torchlight Academy Schools. This application was deemed complete October 12, 2018. The applicant now has 3 minutes to introduce themselves and the members of their board.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Rochelle V. Gray. I am the board chair of Power Elite Male Academy, which we went with that name in reference to our discussing with you, the board, the last time we were here. I have been an educator for 20 years. I hold certifications as a K-12 principal, as an adult trainer, and I also have a certification in nonprofit business from Wake Forest University, which I completed last May. Last, I was elected to a Board of Education in New Jersey, where I'm originally from, for 3 terms, during which I served 2 terms as a personnel chair and 1 term as a vice president. I'd also like to introduce our board member, Shay Morton, who couldn't be with us today because she's had recent back surgery and was not, the doctor did not give her clearance to drive the 3 hours that we had to be here. Ms. Morton serves as our treasurer. She is also the lead of our marketing effort. Her experience as a business leader and marketing guru is known throughout the Charlotte community. She will be collaborating with 40-plus community members and organizations that is going to aid us in securing our client base. I would like to bring up my vice chair, Mrs. Cheryl Monsanto.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Cheryl Atwood Monsanto. I serve as the vice chair on the board for Power Elite Male Academy because I believe in what the mission is going to be for this school. My background is as a risk consultant and an organizational development professional where I will provide the expertise needed and desired to develop a high-performing team internally and with the community, with parents, and to provide a thriving community, learning community for our students.
Okay, I'd like to call up Mr. Anthony Weeks. He is our secretary.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Anthony Weeks, and I serve as the secretary for the Power Elite Male Academy. I have over 30 years of experience in working with students. I have served in various capacities, such as a campus minister for various colleges and universities, to teaching in private schools, as well as working with the Department of Juvenile Justice. I also am certified with the Department of Education, where I've been trained in the Atlanta, Georgia headquarters for protocol for how colleges and universities should work, as well as procedures for the FAFSA. I am currently the National College Recruiter and Consultant with a company called College Planning Today Services, where we assist parents and their children with a 10-step process with a pipeline to college and careers. I am the proud father of 3 sons. Thank you.
And last, I would like to introduce Mrs. LaShare Wright, who is over our Parent Community and Engagement Committee.
Hello and good morning. Again, my name is LaShare Wright, and I'm the co-founder of Funding Futures USA. I am also a region assistant at Freedom School Partners and a NAF board member at Philippo Berry High School, and I'm the parent engagement coordinator for the Power Elite Male Academy Board, where I'll be using my experience coordinating and hosting parent meetings, providing parent resources, and working with over 1,200 youth, as well as working and speaking at schools to enhance our youth in North Carolina. My favorite job is being a parent of 4 sons.
All right, thank you very much. We appreciate that. All right, board, let's begin by thinking, where do we want to go with questions? Education plan, or first of all, let's do mission. Purposes and goals. Anyone had any comments, questions on that?
I thought the mission was just a little non-specific.
Okay.
Excuse me, this was an all-male. Well, surely that's a possibly good mission to be exploring for this demographic.
Okay.
I thought, I saw it was an old middle school, but unless I just missed it when I got and looked into the admissions policy, it didn't seem to be limited to male, and maybe I just missed something. I don't know. So I guess that was that was kind of my question is it, I mean, is it open to everybody, or is it just male? But the admissions policies seem to be broader than that. And that was why I guess I just had a question about that.
And to add to the lack of clarity, that's confusing folks. You know, is it Power Elite Preparatory Academy or Power Elite Male Academy? They're used interchangeably in the application, which I think, again, lacks clarity for folks.
And I think she had mentioned that they were going to go with Power Elite Male
We brought that
Academy.
up in the clarification interview, and they said they would be seeking the name change to Male Academy. So that would clarify that. I think for me, other than this mission statement about males, the rest of the application is like every other torchlight application that we've seen. So there was not a clear focus as to specifically what's gonna be put in place for these male students. Or how is this program, the ed plan, curriculum, how does that specifically reach the male population?
And I had questions about that too, because seemed like exactly the same application as we got from others.
That's where the admission piece comes in.
Uh-huh. And then the other concern that I had, following that, just to follow up on that, was, you know how we have every section of the application to certify that it's original? And there might have been some misunderstanding about that, but they certified it was all original.
It's just like another.
And it was just like another, so ask about that. All right, what about well, that falls into the education plan. How are you going to address the student population, which is different than all the other schools that, with this CMO?
Right, because the ed plan mentions the same components that all the other
Right.
Torchlight applications did. Teach Like a Champion, the core knowledge, the active-based learning, culturally responsive teacher, culturally responsive teaching,
Core knowledge.
and they speak to Success Academies. Does Success Academies have an all-male school? We asked a question and clarification about Torchlight. Excuse me. The Torchlight Academies that are currently operated do not have a male-specific school. They did say that they had a single-gender classroom. So, you know,
Okay.
it's a difference in having a classroom and a whole school.
Cool. Right. All right, just quickly, governance and capacity.
I'm sorry. I didn't know if you wanted us to refer to the mission statement first.
No,
What would you like?
We're just going to go
Okay.
through it, and then I'm going to,
Thank you very
as
much.
soon as we go through the items, and we'll go right back to you.
Thank
All
you.
right, and cover them. Governance capacity.
My questions were the experience with at-risk youth, but I think they alluded to some of that when they were introducing themselves. It was a little unclear as to who's gonna hire the administrator. Is that the board gonna be hiring the administrator, or
Or is there somebody on the board that is going to be the
somebody on the board that will be the administrator? Is the CMO that, who will that administrator report to, the board or the CMO? And same with the staff. Wasn't sure who was doing the hiring, if it was CMO. And I would just like to know the board members, have they visited these other schools, Success Academies? They alluded to, when they chose Torchlight, they said that they looked at NHA and ALS and TLS. Did they visit those other schools to make sure that this is the right fit for them?
Okay. Operations and
Excuse me, on the governance, it kind of concerned me, maybe I'm wrong, but when I read the board members, I could see there was an attorney, a business person, and then 3 volunteers. And there was, if I recall correctly, maybe I'm wrong, there was nothing in the way of professional licenses, which brought up the question of is the board chair a practicing attorney, or, and I don't know how pertinent this really is, but.
Yeah, I'd wrote that down too, and I also would like to hear a little bit more about, you know, education type background with the board to, you know, to make sure that, you know, especially when you're partnering with an EMO, that somebody could say, no, hold on for a second, you know, or if you're totally flying in the dark, like if I was starting a board, I don't have, you know, formal, you know, teaching experience or things like that, so I would ask, you know, bring some of you guys on, you know, on a board that understood the education plan a little bit better. So that was, you know, my question along the same way, and I'd wrote down the same thing, you know, as an attorney without a license. just didn't know if that was something that was incomplete or.
Yeah, I noticed when they listed that, that was not filled out. And let me just say this, I think all of us struggled with this, and I know you turned in everything on time, but the appendixes, trying to follow the appendixes, I mean, there were so many blank documents, even though they were put together in all one big document that had 250 pages or something in it. It was hard to follow. With operations, I just had a question with Appendix O. It talked about wraparound services, but I could never find the wraparound services. I went to, I think it was page 235 of the correction document, and I could never find the wraparound services, so I'd like to know more about that.
And also, I know at the clarification, they talked about they were in negotiations about a facility. Just want to update
Facility.
on that. And based on what's in the budget for $8 a square foot, I'm not sure if the facility they're talking about is going to be big enough for the number of students, or there isn't enough money in the budget possibly for the facility that they're looking at.
Okay. Anything else?
And
on
I
financial?
just elaborate more on how the catered lunch program is going to work with 95% ED population. I didn't think there was enough substance to what was in the application.
All right, so talk more about the lunch program.
I was just gonna add, excuse me, that I feel like their personnel budget needs some work.
Okay.
Finding someone to lead such a specialized school as a lead administrator at $50,000, I think is gonna be a struggle. And there's not gonna be maybe a lot of experience with that. And so I think maybe to look at that along with the benefits packages, they're gonna be in a very competitive market.
Okay.
And piggybacking on that, the core teachers at 37 grand, I thought that was
Especially in Charlotte. Charlotte.
very low.
Competition there. All right.
And then the transportation plan too, they said they're gonna have 3 or 4 buses, but there was only $8,000. There just seemed to be under budget in a lot of areas.
Misalignment of things. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. And whoever you would like to come up and fill some of these questions, we can start with the mission, purpose, and goals.
Hi, I'm going to discuss the mission. We did have an opportunity to revisit our mission statement to be more specific to the male population that we want to address. So as we worked at it, it reads as follows. The mission statement for Power Elite Male Academy is to provide male students a structured learning environment that will incorporate our extensive wraparound services in the areas of academics, social, emotional, and physical learning that supports, encourages, and develops males to be productive citizens in their community.
Okay. And will the admissions be for male only, or are you going to open it up to everyone?
The school is for males only.
Okay, all right. Clarify that. Any questions? You want to follow up questions on that?
Sounds better.
Okay. She said she liked it. Sounds better.
Sounds better.
I mean, could somebody from the board just, because this kind of goes from mission, purposes, and goals into the education plan, can anybody just kind of explain how you're going to blend these different education models together into one kind of cohesive thing that you would do, and then explain as well how that blending together specifically is tailored towards all-male student population?
Well, first of all, there are things that males need that perhaps my females are not as much in need of. Our society right now is not really afraid of our female students or as much as our males. Our males are not doing well in our current system. Out of 146,000 students, right now we have 39% are African American, 23% are Hispanic, totaling almost 79,000 students. We're not doing well. The white male students in our school district from K to 8 are reading on a 73% grade level in reading. Our African Americans are 18%, and our Hispanic males are at 23%. So what we're looking to do is, first of all, blend project-based learning, bring in mental health professionals. We're finding that a lot of the barriers that our students are having is because of mental health. There are things that are not being addressed that are occurring on the outside with their families, and because many of them, for example, I have 23 male students in my class right now. Not one of them is reading on grade level. I teach 8th grade. So we get a lot of pushback from them because, first of all, they don't understand how they get to this point without an IEP. So we're bringing in, the first thing I called for was mental health. I need my kids to understand where they are, but that we're ready to push them forward. So that's one of the things we're doing in terms of wraparound services. We're also, we're really big on multiple intelligences. We're trying to give students options to recognize their genius. There are 9 multiple intelligences. We will be incorporating a diagnostic that's fun, that will give them opportunities and options to look at where their genius is. We're incorporating that. So there are some kids that are biokinesthetic, there are some that are visual spatial, and with that, we're also going to be asking them to research careers in those areas. So again, they have more options than the ones they currently think that they have in terms of sports, according to my males. With the mentoring services that we'll be providing through peer-to-peer, through teen health, through Profound Gentlemen, we are trying to teach our males, we will teach them how to walk in their skin, how to use their voices, how not to be perceived as giving pushback, but advocating for themselves, how to walk, how to really be men, how to lead. So those are some of the wraparound services. And then the physical, we're bringing in a dentist monthly and a doctor because, again, some of my students are not even able to be on sports teams because their parents are not either able to get them to have their physicals or for them. So those are some of the wraparound services that we're providing in addition to tutoring. We will have teachers that are tutor, but it will be their, we're going to give them the option of opting out and bringing out in our community. We want our community involved in our schools. So we will be having another company come in for tutoring, and the community has really wrapped themselves around us also and are willing, many of them, to give volunteer service to us so that our males succeed. We need them to be on grade level and not right now, as CMS survey results say, 8th grade, you're reading on the 8th grade level, but you're a senior.
Can you,
I guess
Yes.
I understand the wraparound services.
Yes.
I'm thinking more along the lines of day-to-day in the classroom, how you see all these. You know, we've got North Carolina Standard Course of Study, we've
Absolutely.
got Common Core, we've got Core Knowledge, we've got STEAM, we've got Success Academy, we've got Think, and we've got Teach Like a Champion.
Okay.
So my question is for you,
Yes.
how do you see that how do you see that blend of those different models coming together, and then how do you tailor that specifically towards a males-only population?
Well, you're talking about two Bs, so the Teach Like a Champion and the Success Academy are strategies that our teachers will be getting to learn how to correctly teach males, to provide for them a safe environment, and to be active listeners, and also to incorporate physical movement, things that males need in the classroom, project-based, hands-on, they're competitive, all of those things. In terms of the piece for the males themselves, with the project-based thematic learning, flexible learning styles, knowing their genius, increased use of visuals, having competitive learning applications, as well as other research-based. Those things will go into the lesson plans as the teachers prepare on a weekly basis.
Okay, so how do you then, can you just walk me through how you would kind of merge in a way Common Core and core knowledge?
Absolutely. So for any subject, males don't like to sit. Most of them, even when we go to meetings, they're only going to sit for a certain period of time. So in terms of flexible, I may have a round robin discussion that get them moving, but I teach them to walk with a purpose. Just like when they were in 4th grade, when you were on the carpet and you left the carpet, if you did anything else other than go to your seat or adhere to the directive of the teacher, you will call back to the carpet. So with getting and teaching males to move, I may, if I'm doing a lesson and it involves questions, I may put posters up and have them answer each question to teach them how to move, to teach them how to use their voices. I may say, you're doing it individually, but this young man or these groups are doing peer-to-peer, whereas you're getting together and learning how to use your voice and talk and discuss, but so not to disturb other people and to help. We also want to teach our students to not so much be independent and not also know the value of teamwork. So again, we're going to use different strategies in the classroom to teach them how to do and how to be in the classroom. We don't want them sitting. We want them moving. We want hands-on opportunities in science and in math. We have a movement math, which again, just all it is having activities that are active for males, because this is what males like versus just sitting down in the classroom
Has
for
your board,
hours. Yes.
excuse me, has your board visited any school that is an all-male school that's implementing all of these strategies?
Yes, we have. And also myself, for the last 3 years, I have had all males in my classroom.
Okay, what school have you visited?
I'm at Eastwood. Oh, I have visited Torchlight. I have also been to Urban Prep in Chicago, and I have been to Essex Catholic Schools in New Jersey, as well as Nation Ford in Charlotte. Nation Ford Academy.
Now, I know Torchlight is not an all-boys
They
school.
do have an all-male. They are gender-specific. All males, all females.
Okay, the classrooms are.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And then who's going to be doing the professional development that's specifically designed for boys?
Well, again, Torchlight has some, we're going to be collaborating with them. And again, there are also some retired teachers that have expertise in that area that are going to be coming in to help us, as well as myself. I'm a certified trainer, and that is my expertise as far as getting boys to be successful. And we also have profound gentlemen who are nationally recognized as preparer of male teachers, as well as mentoring and teaching and training male students.
Do you have any endorsement letters from those wraparound
We
services?
do.
But they were not in the application, were
Mr.
they?
Sherright has them, yes.
Okay, I didn't see them in the application, but you do have them?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Piggybacking off of the last question,
Yes.
is there anyone on your board who is very well versed in the core knowledge sequence?
And I'm sorry?
In the core knowledge
Absolutely. I've been
sequence?
teaching for 20 years, and I currently teach in Charlotte Eastway Middle School.
Using the core knowledge sequence?
Absolutely. That's what we use.
Okay, any other
I'm still
questions?
not seeing how, what is particular to, I mean, other than movement and hands-on activities.
Well, you're also, I'm sorry.
I'm not connecting with what is specific for boys besides movement and hands-on activities, which I would say all students benefit from.
I understand, but as a result, for instance, in classrooms where boys are allowed to move more, they do better. We're also looking at leadership and character. Many of my boys are suffering because of models that they don't have, which as a result of character traits, again, not using your voice appropriately, being seen as aggressive because you're advocating for yourself, but someone else sees it as pushback. So we're also doing things that are developing confidence in boys. That's where the peer-to-peer groups will come in. That's where the mental health professionals will come in. Because once I give them confidence, I want to show them what they're good at, which gives them confidence, which then speaks to their character and it allows them to be able to do well in the classroom. And that's what's missing. So that's what these groups are going to be coming in doing. So even in our lessons, we can do lessons on leadership and character, that we can have readings in language arts and math, and that can be in any subject. Our boys are being taught to lead in all the areas that are Power Elite, and that includes finance, that includes government. So even with the multiple intelligence diagnostic tests that we give them, they're going to be having times in their day when they have opportunities to look at these things, to learn about these things and be mentored and go out in the community and also learn about how they can lead in their areas.
Okay. Any other questions here?
I have a quick question about, and I'm not as familiar with core knowledge as some who integrate that into their schools, but I am very familiar with project-based learning and multiple intelligences, and just wonder how those things, especially with very young teachers, it looks like based on the budget, integrate with one another, and if there's time for all of that, because PBL work is very authentic learning, student-centered, student-driven, and sometimes can take weeks. And so I'm just curious about, months at times. I'm just curious about your plan to not only train teachers, but also to integrate the two.
Well, there are Howard Gardner, and they have put together activities that speak to multiple intelligences for every subject. So teachers can actually just incorporate those into their lesson plans. That's not that hard. For instance, if I'm doing a project, if my intelligence is body kinesthetic, I might create a game, or I might create some type of movement piece. If I am visual spatial, I may create something in the ways of art. If I am interpersonal, I may do a leadership piece that speaks to their project. So that's where we can put in the multiple intelligences. Also, again, there will be times in their day when they have electives, and some of those electives will speak to their multiple intelligences. And I'm sorry, you had one other piece you asked me about.
I was just talking about project-based learning. It's when perhaps if you're looking at the Buck Institute kind of model project-based learning, which is very deep and can take anywhere from a week to a month to 2 months to truly delve into something for a student, and it's driven by the student, how that works together with core knowledge. I understand the multiple intelligence piece, and I think that's a little bit easier to integrate myself. But that other piece is much more difficult, and I think it takes 5 to 7 years for a teacher to master PBL.
Because we're going to be doing thematic, meaning if I do a project in language arts, then the social studies teacher will have their component, the math teacher will have their component, the art and the music teacher will also have their component. And we intend to do that once a semester. So there will be, again, time at the end because of the minutes that you have in the day. With a 90-minute class or with a 60-minute class, there will be times in that day, and because students will have specific roles within their project, there'll be opportunity for school, after school, during the time, and at home.
Could you explain your intervention strategies? I mean, you've got all these different kinds. Specifically, what are you going to be doing with students that are coming in a year behind, 2 years behind?
That's where if I can get to their genius, again, I teach those kids now. And once I give them the test that speaks to their genius, it gives them some confidence that, oh, I really am smart. Because when I ask kids in the beginning, how many people think they're smart out of 23, maybe 2 might raise their hand. So once I get their ear to that, then I am trained as a teacher to be able to look at the data based on where the kids are now and look at certain strategies and get them to that point. We will have a data room. We will also have teachers that are going to come in and look at what our teachers' needs are in regards to our students. And we will also have a team that looks at that. So if I know that my student is reading on a 5th grade level and I'm trying to get him to 8th grade, I'm going to levelize, I'm going to do strategies that's going to get him there. I'm going to have maybe him hearing something, if that's his learning style. I'm going to have maybe someone working with him. I may have a peer working with him. There are all types of things that we do in the classroom.
Are you going to be the headmaster?
I will not, but I will be close.
What does that mean?
In other words, we're a board that will be at our schools, and we will also be involved in the training.
So you're going to remain on the board. You're not going to be.
Yes, ma'am. For the time being. Yes.
Okay. All right. So the staff development budget is like $10,000, and you're going to be able to do all that staff development for all those different strategies, that curriculum, all of that.
Yes, because we will have master teachers that are there. We are also collaborating with Torchlight. There are also companies that are going to come in, and they really want to see us up and running, and they're going to volunteer their time. In addition, that we have some retired teachers that are going to be working with us.
Okay. Right.
I'm sure I would. Torchlight like to speak to that, or
yeah.
Yes.
Again, good morning. I want to continue with the question relative to even things that's going to boost our enrollment. We did surveys. We did many surveys. Even with the bad weather we recently had, we held 2 community meetings, and we were really astounded that so many people attended the meetings, and most of them were males. We already have over 40 partners right now that are ready to to come in and participate in helping us to get this school started. I even spoke with a church yesterday that applauded and stood up and said, let us know what we need to do. We have churches and organizations already ready to help us with getting the school started. And some of these things are also in looking at Charlotte. I wanted to add that, as she said, 149,000 students in Charlotte in the CMS school system right now. 59% of these students are African Americans. 23% of these students are Latino. We are already working with the community already right now to engage this process. So, and also we, as I said earlier, we have workshops for parents. We have community meetings with parents that have several things. Also, we're doing massive recruitments right now. We have parents right now filling out forms right now to be a part of the school. So we are already doing the work in terms of engaging parents. They just want us to get this thing going in terms of the school.
Okay, let me go to any questions we have on finance. And we talked about, there were some issues regarding the facility.
The teachers.
Yeah, the teachers at 35,000.
Yeah.
And the administrator at 40,000. I don't know who wants to address that, but just the.
There's funds that are other source.
The starting salary for a Mecklenburg County teacher
Okay.
is 0 years experience, $40,286.
Okay, would you say that a little out? Did you hear what? Okay.
$40,286 is the starting salary for a beginning teacher in Mecklenburg County.
0 years experience.
0 years experience. Just helping Cheryl out. I think she's a little hoarse.
Thank you, Stephen. So would you address that, please?
Well, yes, we understand that our salaries are a challenge, and you know, a budget is a guide, and you may have to make some adjustments in order to get the teachers and the quality of teachers that you're looking for. And so that's why the management company is there. We've already committed, and we're going to be committing, you know, several tens of thousands of dollars in order to make sure that happens. As with most of our schools, we've committed over $50,000 in startup capital to make sure that we get the school up and running. But typically in the charter world, you know, we work with beginning teachers and we work with retired teachers. Sometimes we work with foreign teachers. I have teachers from Jamaica, great teachers, great results. And so we just have to, you know, it's a marketplace that we'll have to deal with.
And I'm going to ask the question to the CMO here.
Yes.
Why is the application for this all-male school exactly like all the other applications that Torchlight put in?
Well, you know, when you have a formula, that you think is successful, mm-hmm. You kind of want to use that formula for success. But it's not really the formula itself; it's the application. And so you can hear very much different how Ms. Gray sees and feels about the application that we submitted and her application of its tenets that are in there. So you see it, she sees it very differently. You know, I'm sure you listened to her, you're very impressed like I was when I first met with her at the Panera Bread. You know, and she was just, I was awestruck. And I feel so passionate that her passion is transferable, and that she can take what we have as a guide. Because remember, we're in a practice. We're not in a perfection. We're not in a perfect. We're in a practice, and so you may need to make some adjustments. If Motrin is not working, you may have to use Tylenol. But anyway, you're going to get the job done. And I feel that way about her, and I feel that way about this board.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
A couple questions on the finance. One, well, I guess it's not a question, it's more of a comment. And Linda Lynn, you mentioned it, the $10,000 for staff development. I mean, with 11 instructional staff, that's less than $1,000 per person. And becoming really skilled at implementing the core knowledge sequence and project-based learning is not something you just walk out of college with and say, I know how to do this. But that's where your pay scale is kind of at in terms of those younger, inexperienced teachers. So I just have a concern about the amount of money being put towards professional development to implement the very curriculum plan that you outlined. And I understand you get it, but you can't be in 11 classrooms at the same time.
Do any of North Carolina's education schools teach the core knowledge sequence to teachers?
I don't know of any.
And I was going to say that, because even as an educator,
If they do, I want my.
I mean, it's
In fact, I was
introduced
shocked to
other
hear
curriculum, but-
CMS allowed you to do it at Eastway. I didn't have any
well,
idea.
what they do is they ask you when you're first there, how will you achieve growth? And my answer was through males. Because it's easier, really, when someone is it's easier to achieve growth with someone that is low versus someone that is high. It really is. And when you get the missing pieces in the classroom, the males in the classroom, the movement in the classroom, more visuals for boys in the classroom, competitive things in the classroom for boys, it works. And that's what I did. And so I was able to, and my team agreed, and we had great success. That first year, not one of my boys was suspended, not one had ISS, and they all graduated. And this was 8th grade.
Using core knowledge.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because again, if you use things that boys like, even in their readings, you'd be surprised how many books that are not available for boys. But there are a lot of books that girls like. Boys like gore, boys like games, there's a lot of things out there. And to speak to the professional development, there are many free opportunities for professional development. Columbia University, online, and I can't think of them more, but even myself as an educator, there's so many free things that we do online. Education World, ASCD that we're partnering with, and even some of our schools, they have professional development for teachers. So even if you're looking at spending $1,000 per teacher, well, you might call in someone for that day for $1,000, but you're still speaking to certain things that are generic to all the teachers. Poverty simulations, again, how to engage students in the classroom. So, and then with that, when you see where the data lies with the teacher as to what their strengths and weaknesses are, then they have mentors. Again, we're going to have retired people coming in, and they're going to look at those, and they're going to get them to that next level.
So let me ask a follow-up question, if I may. You mentioned the need, because of the student population that would be serving,
Yes.
for wraparound services.
Yes.
You mentioned tutoring, mental health services. Where is that accounted for in the budget? Because again, this looks to be a budget that mirrors just other Torchlight schools. So it's not apples to apples from one school to the other. So I didn't see that in the budget. And I may have missed it.
Well, again, we have some companies that they're giving us their services. They see the need. Profound Gentlemen, they're an organization that gets their monies from their organization. Their services are free. They come in and they mentor our students and the male teachers, and they provide those services for free.
The
Peer-to-peer
tutoring
comes in and provides them for free. Absolutely. Teen House Connection, their budgets are extremely low, maybe like $10, $15 per kid when we do things. There's plenty of people, because they have nonprofits that are successful, they come in because they have nonprofits, so they're not charging the school.
For tutoring and mental
Yes, sir.
health.
My questions again are around the budget as far as facilities and working capital and that. I mean, the budget is really tight and there seems to be a lot of underfunded areas.
Okay.
And I know there's, in the revenue area, it says there's other funds and working capital. So it seems like there's already been money put in to help cover the deficit because there's only $35,000 surplus right now. But then it still seems there's a lot of underfunded areas such as facilities, buses, the lunch program, teacher salaries. It just seems like there's a lot.
I'm going to ask Torchlight to speak to that, please.
Well, it sounds like charter schools need more money. That's just clear to me. When charter schools first started, they were given a certain set amount of money for startup capital. Back when charter schools first were introduced into this state. But we understand that, and so we're making an investment in charter schools. We're making an investment in our community's education, and so. We're looking at a facility that is currently the Brisbane Academy in Charlotte. We put an offer in to purchase that facility to install our charter there. Whether we get this approval today or not. We're still going to go forward with that. We're probably going to have to operate it as a private institution. It's been operating there for 27 years in that site. It's directly across the street from, what's that?
Ransom Middle School, that's in the lift area.
Ransom Middle School, in a lift area. It currently is approved for 103 students as a certificate of occupancy, education certificate of occupancy. It also has another 2 acres of land in the back that we hope to develop. It has the trailers, it has the things that we need. In addition to that, they're going to transfer over, or allow us to transfer over, about 40 of their students, which they currently have. They have about 40, 50 students, half of which are boys. And so we'll be focusing on that group as a way to start the school up. And so I've been in discussions with them about doing that and making that investment. So yes, we understand that there's some shortfalls, and so that's why we're making those investments.
Okay, my colleagues, one last question, and then we're going to deliberate.
I just want to get clarification. I'm a parent interested in your school. If you could come up, I'm sorry, I forgot your first name. The one.
Rochelle.
Rochelle.
Myself?
Yes,
Rochelle.
please. And you tell me that you're going to be a core knowledge school based on the core knowledge sequence in capital letters.
I'm sorry, would you repeat that piece?
I'm a parent interested in your school, and you tell me in a meeting that we're going to use a curriculum based on the core knowledge sequence in capital letters.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to ask you, where do I go to find out more information about the core knowledge sequence? What's your answer?
North Carolina Core Standards. You can go.
Excuse me?
You can go to the North Carolina Core Standards on the website.
No, that's not correct.
Okay.
The core knowledge sequence is not North Carolina standards. So if I'm a parent and you're telling me you're going to be a core knowledge sequence school, where are you going to send me to go to find more information about the core knowledge sequence?
I'm sorry, I don't, from what I know, we're going to be following the North Carolina Core Standards.
Okay.
So it's the
Thank
North
you.
Carolina Standard Courses Study.
Yes.
It's Eastway. That she's using it Eastway. Okay. Board, it's come to time now for us to deliberate. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this application, and then we will vote on it. Who will go first?
Well, I'll follow up on that. As someone who oversees a core knowledge school, and the core knowledge sequence is not North Carolina Common Core standards. That seems to be something that should be pretty clear. That's puzzling to me. I do have concerns about the budget. Seems to be admittedly similar to other Torchlight schools, but this is a school that has very different needs than those other Torchlight schools, and I don't understand why the budget would be the same. I understand budgets are, I respect the gentleman's comment that the budgets are, it's an initial budget and you make changes as your school goes along, but it seems like there's just, it's awfully similar with not a lot of differentiation from one school to the next.
Yeah, and that's kind of, I'm at the same thing in feeling on it that, when I was asked, how are you going to weave in Common Core and core knowledge together, because those things, they kind of seem like diametrically opposed to me, that it's, you're either all in on one or you're all in on the other. I don't know how you can weave them in, and I was hoping that I would learn how they were going to weave them in, but it still just kept kind of going back to we're going to get them moving around, and I think that's great. I mean, I do think you ought to move kids around. I know I was that way when I was growing up learning. I'm still the same way. It kills me to sit in this meeting for 6 hours. I'd rather get up and walk around, and when I have meetings and stuff, I get up and stand up and walk around, so just because it does help. But I think where I'm still at a loss is how this curriculum is going to specifically help male students, and I do think that it ties in with the budget, that it's just going to be very difficult to get good quality teachers at that price in Mecklenburg County, and I think that's just going to make it very difficult. And I'm just torn about this application because I think the desire is there and the passion is there, But then when I look through the application, I just don't want to set up a school to not make it.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I really believe that they need to take what you have said and work on it and bring it back next year.
Okay, any other comments?
I think it's, when you're looking at pass-fail ratings, and with the exception of one pass, everything was failed from outside evaluators and folks who are saying, you know, this is what we see as best practices in charter schools and the trends that we've seen over now 20-plus years of experience in watching them. And that's my big concern. So you put it all together and it just feel like we might be setting someone up for failure when it's a great concept. And I think if you come back with it more dialed in and focused with the research that, you know, and a specific curriculum that says this speaks to males and here's the research behind that, instead of just because hearing that this is the same application, but when they stand in front of us, it's very specifically for males and there's the passion. I mean, I like those things, but as far as I don't know that you can tailor on the fly, if you will, your application while you're standing here. I always like to see the application presented strong when we first read it, with direction and focus.
And I would agree, I think the concept is great, and I think it's definitely needed, but I think it needs to be refined and defined better within the application.
Okay. Any other comments?
Well, I mean,
Sherry?
I like the idea of the all-male academy. I think we've approved one, and is it open yet, or is it opening this fall?
I think it's opening this fall.
I think it's in
this fall, so I'm looking forward to
a year delayed, I think.
Seeing how that goes. But you know, I've read all the Torchlight applications this go around, and this is the ad plan. Everything with the exception of this mission is identical, and I'm not seeing, you know, this is a very targeted group, a very specific mission, and I don't see anything in this application that says this is how we accomplish it with this group. So that's where I stand. Plus, the budget doesn't support it at all.
Okay. Any other comments before I give mine? All right. I want to first of all say thank you for coming and thank you for your passion.
A great idea.
I served on the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Board of Education. I think I cannot agree with you more of the need for our male students. Okay, so the idea, the concept is great. I have visited Brisbane, great location. It could be a great charter school, especially in that Project Lift area that was a total failure after $55 million more spent. So I have my concerns, though. I have my concerns that the application, I want to see, if it's going to be an all-male school, I want to see how you're tailoring it to male students all the way through the application. I want to see those letters of the wraparound services. You've shared a lot of nonprofit names. I want to see those nonprofits saying yes, and I think you may have had a folder here, but I want to see those nonprofits saying how they're going to interact with the population at that school. That's going to be extremely important, I believe. The nonprofits, the letters really articulate these curriculum pieces. The core knowledge and the standard course of study are just so totally different. And we need you to articulate that. So with all that said, and I'm prolonging this, with all that said, I think it would be great. I want to encourage you to come back again with another application, but I can't support it as it stands right now. So that's where I'm coming from on that. It's time for us to go ahead and make a motion. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion that we do not move forward Power Elite.
To ready open status, okay? Is there a second for that?
I'll second.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
This really is such a great mission, and there is such a need here for this innovative type of program. And I hope the applicants don't get discouraged and not revise this and polish it and pull together in a cohesive way the different curriculums that you want to use and come back. I see this as so needed in North Carolina, and it'd be a great, in my view, with some work, it would be a great public charter school in our state and a boon to these kids and our parents.
Yeah, I think we all agree on that. Okay, let's go ahead, and I've got a motion and a second. All those in favor of...
Excuse me, would you
clarify the motion?
Yeah.
The motion is not to move Power Elite Male Academy to ready to open status this year. Okay? All those in favor? Okay. Looks unanimous. All those opposed? All right, ayes have it. I hope you hear our heart. Please come again. The concept is great. So please come again. Come back again.
Let's take a break, and let's take it to Verizon Standard Time 10:30, which is different than whatever that clock says. So that gives us 9 minutes. Let's take a 9-minute break, and we'll start back at 10:30 Verizon Standard Time.
You trust Verizon more.
Yeah.
That clock